Hey everybody, my name is Paul Esden Jr., aka Boy Green. I'm the New York Jets digital reporter for Heavy.com. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Welcome to my Twitter account at BoyGreen25, and feel free to get involved here on the show. You could jump into the comments if you'd like. We're on for a late night edition. That's because, of course, there is breaking news to discuss, and New York Jets wide receiver Denzel Mims has officially requested a trade. Like I said, this is an interactive show, so feel free to get involved on either Twitter or the YouTube, and we'll discuss this thing seemingly coming out of nowhere and everything and anything that's going to be involved with it. Before we get started, let's crack open a Dewey, if we will. No sponsorships yet, but Mountain Dew slide into the DMs because do the do, baby. So we could get this night started here after 11 o'clock. So let's go. There we go. Very nice. Let's get a nice cold sip before we get this party started, if I may. Nothing like an ice cold Mountain Dew. All right. So, folks, let's read the statement here. This is from Denzel Mims' agent earlier tonight. Breaking news right before my Syracuse Mets broadcast I was doing. And here is the full statement from Denzel Mims' agent, Ron Slavin. Okay, it's just time. Denzel has tried in good faith, but it's clear he does not have a future with the Jets. Denzel vowed to come back better than ever this season, and he worked extremely hard in the offseason to make that happen. Still, he has been given no opportunities to work with the starting offense to get into a groove with them. We feel at this point a trade is our only option since the Jets have repeatedly told us they will not release him. Joe Douglas has always done right by Denzel, and we trust that he will do everything in his power to find him another team where Denzel can be a contributor. Before we go any further, right off the top, I do want to get right into, I want to break down the statement, and then we can kind of dive into anything and everything that's going to come from this. So let's go through this. Denzel has tried in good faith, and it's clear he does not have a future with the Jets. Now, there is an obvious elephant in the room here with Denzel Mims when you look at the position. The Jets went out of their way, made a concerted effort to attack the wide receiver position with a level of volition that we haven't seen in a long time. So they already had Elijah Moore, second-round pick from 2021. They already had Corey Davis entering the second year of a 3-year deal for $37.5 million. And in addition to that, they re-signed Braxton Berrios, a 2-year deal for $12 million. And then, of course, they selected Garrett Wilson with the number 10 overall pick in the first round of the 2022 NFL Draft. Prior to selecting that former Ohio State product, the Jets openly flirted with multiple blockbuster trades, including but not limited to Tyreek Hill, A.J. Brown, Deebo Samuel, DK Metcalf. Again, go through all the names. So obviously the Jets made a concerted effort this offseason to try to explore the wide receiver market. Now, even with Garrett Wilson, who they did end up selecting, obviously, he was the first-round receiver the Jets had taken in 21 years. The last one was Santana Moss, and he is the highest drafted receiver by the Jets since Keyshawn Johnson was the number 1 pick in 1996. So there are 4 guys, without question, zero question, were and are above Denzel Mims. He's still on the team, above him on the roster. So the best Denzel Mims could do is bat 5th. I'm not saying this in defense of Denzel, and I'm not saying this in defense of the Jets. We're just talking about the facts here to start this show off. The best he could do is 5th. And to be blunt, he has been outplayed. He has been outdone by Jeff Smith, the former Boston College quarterback, wide receiver, special teamer ace. So now the best Denzel Mims can do is bat 6th. So obviously, as we're breaking down this statement as the first step of our process here, he does not have a future with the Jets. The only future he has is twofold. First off, if an injury or injuries more specifically, because even one injury wouldn't directly get him on the field, but if multiple injuries befell the Jets wide receiver position, then Denzel Mims would have a present with the New York Jets. And again, we can't predict injuries, and of course we don't want to. So unless injuries happen, he's not playing on the Jets. And then quite frankly, as we get another sip of the Dewey here. That's good stuff. But the other part of it, of course, is then you're crossing your fingers and saying, okay, Corey Davis next year, the Jets can get out of his contract. Then Denzel Mims can step up. By the way, at that point, he had 1 year left on his contract. So, again, is there a future here? It doesn't appear to be. So that part of it is right. Denzel Mims did vow to come back better than ever. Again, he did rededicate himself. The work he did in the offseason. David Robinson's one of the best receiver coaches in the country. He did work with him. He was in great shape. That's all true. So he did work hard. That he has been given no opportunities to work with the starting offense is ridiculous. He has gotten first team reps, but he sucked with them. Now, he has gotten a lot of first team reps. And of course, the obvious reason is Elijah Moore, Garrett Wilson, and all these other cats are above him on the depth chart. So, this isn't your local recess where everyone gets a participation trophy. Well, I want to be on the first team. Well, guess what? You don't just get on the first team for being on the first team. So you have to earn your spot in there, and then Denzel Mims couldn't. So the didn't get a chance to get in a groove with the starting offense. It's like me saying I want to get in a groove with Megan Fox. That's just not going to happen. So you could say whatever you want. So that part of it I disregard. We feel at this point a trade is our only option. And let's start with just that. I mean, that's kind of true. If Denzel Mims wants to have the PT, and we're going to play two clips in particular where the momentum changed this offseason, where things got different, and then we'll jump into, I see we're getting a lot of comments. I'll get to all you guys again, an interactive show, but just kind of wanted to set the table here before we went any further. I want to answer all your questions. Denzel Mims, your thoughts on him taking this next step and releasing the statement and everything else, of course, here on the show. But I feel like they're right. The trade is the only option for these guys to get what they're looking for, which is PT. And again, that would not happen with the Jets. The other part of the statement, the Jets have repeatedly told us they will not release him. And you want to know something? Damn right. Denzel Mims, while there's a lot of Jet fans, they seem split. A lot of Jet fans just say cut and move on. To me, while at some point it's a sunken cost, you invested the number 59 overall pick, a second rounder, to Denzel Mims. If you cut him, he will, of course, be claimed off of waivers. Who wouldn't take a dart throw on a guy who's 24 years of age and 2 cheap years left on his rookie contract? People would be crazy, of course, not to invest a waiver wire claim. Ian Rappaport said after this trade request became official that multiple teams will be interested in Denzel Mims, and for good reason. So, yeah, they've repeatedly told Denzel Mims and his agent, we're not going to cut you. Of course not. And they shouldn't. And again, the end of it is just we trust in Joe Douglas, great guy. Denzel Mims just wants to be a contributor. Okay, there's all that jazz. There was a palpable change, and I'm going to play both of these clips for you guys. First, we'll go to Denzel Mims. And this is from, let me get the date right, August 5th. Okay, this is a couple weeks ago. Now, Denzel Mims, throughout the offseason, has said all the right things. Anytime he's come out to the podium, I've been working hard and doing what I can with my opportunities. But there was a palpable change this offseason, and that was when we got a fiery Denzel Mims. And I'm going to play this clip again. This is from August 5th. This is an exchange between Denzel Mims and the media. Let's play the clip.
Pretty deep receiving core. They drafted Garrett and they brought Braxton back. Where do you see yourself once the season starts in that group?
Hopefully, I see myself on top. I mean, I feel like I put in enough work to be there. But that's a coach's decision. But I'm gonna continue to work my tail off and do everything I can.
When you say on top, do you mean like part of the rotation?
No,
or
starting receiver.
So that's like your
That's my goal.
Coming into
That's my only goal.
If this hands out, Denzel, because of some of the guys that I think Richard's at, Garrett's there, where your only way to really contribute is a couple plays on offense and then mostly on special teams. Is that something you'd welcome, or do you want to be somewhere where, like you said, you're going to be a starting receiver?
I like to do everything I can to help the team, honestly. But I would love to be the starting receiver, honestly.
Denzel, has this been tough, like in terms of people questioning you? Do you know what you can do? Do you know what you can do out there?
Yeah.
Has this been tough for you to know that, hey, I know I can do that, but I need to be able to show it?
Nah, because I show it. I show it every day. You know, and so it's up to them if they if they want to play me or not. But I show it every day what I can do, and I'm gonna continue to do that.
Okay, there's a lot to get to there on that. That's getting me to smile on Denzel Mims. Here, I love the fire. I said it in the tweet and I meant it. It was not sarcastic. I like the fire for Denzel Mims where he's like, I want to be a starting wide receiver. And again, I want $1 million. That doesn't mean it's going to happen, but I love the fact that he sees himself in that way. Again, you don't want to say, yeah, I see myself as a backup. I see myself as a loser. Like no one's going to say that. So, I love the fire, but the reality of the situation is that did not exist with the Jets. It didn't exist with the Jets on August 5th, and obviously it doesn't exist now. Garrett Wilson is just getting better and better. Elijah Moore's been a rock star. Corey Davis has been bouncing back great. And Braxton Berrios is all reliable. So, again, for Denzel, that wasn't going to happen. Now, I find this interesting. I want to play one more clip here, then we'll get to the fans because we are a show of the people, of course. Is Robert Saleh then responding after Denzel Mims spoke with the media? Robert Saleh got a chance at the proverbial pinata, who was told that Denzel Mims sees himself as a starter. Here's Robert Saleh after the Mims interview.
When we talked to Denzel the other day, he mentioned that he sees himself as a starter in this offense, and that's his goal. I'm wondering if he's expressed any frustration to you or any coaches about not being a starter now, because he obviously thinks he's deserving of that.
Yeah, he expresses it, and he should express it. If he didn't think he was a starter, I would think there'd be a severe problem. I'm going to say it again. I love the way he's approached camp. I mean, he is grinding every day. He's keeping his head down. He had a really good green and white scrimmage, even though it was just from a production standpoint. People will judge him by production, but he's doing a lot of different things that people really don't judge in terms of run game, special teams. He ran some good routes. Ball just didn't get thrown his way. The one catch he caught on the read route was probably one of the better routes he's run since we've been here. And so he is getting better, and he does express frustration, but at the same time, it's not phasing his day-to-day approach, which is awesome.
So let's get to this. That felt like a turning point when Denzel Mims admitted his frustration, and he did that in the media, and then both Robert Saleh said, "Oh yeah, he said he's frustrated. He's mentioned that several times." And now we've reached this boiling point, so to speak, where the writing is seemingly on the wall. Now, I'll say a couple of things here, then we'll get to the fans. Sometimes players request trades, and then it just doesn't happen. Kevin Durant in the NBA. Roquan Smith with Chicago Bears, where, Deebo Samuel is another one, where they said, hey, I want to be traded. And at the time, we all, our hair is on fire. We're like, oh my God, this guy's going to be traded. He a player-driven league. They're going to be out of here. And though none of those players that I mentioned are getting traded, they're all staying in their locations. Denzel feels different because of how it's all going to line up. There seems to me to be a very soft deadline coming up on Tuesday. Every NFL team must cut their roster from 80 players to 53. The Jets, I would imagine, again, they will do whatever is best for the team. But I imagine the Jets will not want to hold Denzel Mims, quote unquote, hostage, wasting a roster spot, because if they retain Denzel Mims by Tuesday, then a player they probably really like is going to be forced through the waiver process, and you could lose a guy. So in a perfect world, you could figure out this situation before Tuesday. Will that all come to fruition? That is obviously still TBD. All right, there's a lot to get into on this, and I could just ramble, and I guess I could because it's my show, but we are a show of the people. Let's go to John Hepburn. This one actually was a because I put up, I was at work, the radio station, when the Denzel Mims thing came down. And I said, oh, I got to do a show when I get home. So I pre-made the show so people could, first off, by the way, everybody, hit the like button, hit subscribe down below for all kinds of great support. And you'll get to see a lot of these streams coming up in advance. You could go, oh, can't wait to watch that channel. Boop. Let me put the bell notification on. So John Hepburn's comment came in when it was a pre-made stream. But he said, you think maybe another team has been tampering? Watch he winds up with the Patriots. I find it as a fascinating comment, John, because I think there could be a level of messing around here. Let's go to Roquan Smith. Technically, I believe, if I remember correctly, he represents himself, but he has a guy that is not an NFLPA licensed agent, and reportedly, he went to other NFL teams. So Roquan Smith's unhappy, right? So he tells his buddy or his buddy of his own volition, either way, goes around the other NFL teams, says, hey, what would you trade for Roquan? Or how would this look? How would this look? I'm not accusing Denzel Mims' agent of doing this, but I would not be surprised. Denzel Mims is frustrated. The agent then goes, oh, okay, I'm going to start exploring a little bit. And technically, you're supposed to get permission before you do that. But they could go to a couple NFL teams that have wide receiver injuries. That's an agent's job. So the Chicago Bears, the Dallas Cowboys, the Denver Broncos will go, hey, you guys got an injury. You know, my boy Denzel Mims is looking crispy. Go get him. So there could be a level of that here. I need to see where he lands and the other reports that come out before I could just, wildly and speculatively accuse people of that. But there could be some of that going on. But we'll have to see. Let's say hello to a couple of people in here. Brian Farrell, PBG. What's poppin', baby? Hector Santos. Hello, Hector. How are you? Jay Spector, what's up, boy Green? How you feeling post-COVID? I will tell you that it knocked me out for like 2 weeks, and it was intense. I was bedridden for about a week. It's intense, people. It's a real thing. And even still, you'll kind of hear me kind of lose my breath every once in a while. Again, as my day job, I'm a sports talk radio host. So I'm still trying to get my sea legs under me. Like, I'm trying to get back into the scheme of things. Obviously, you can hear my voice, and I think I sound pretty good and things of that nature. But there is still, I got to kind of, cough and more than a normal person would, and kind of like, and then start going, because I could feel it a little bit in my chest still, but it is gone. I have tested negative and all that stuff, but I'm glad that we're all back here on planet Earth, man. It feels good. So I'm working my way back. But thank you so much for asking, Jay. That's very kind of you. Hector Santos, he does have a future. Not with the Jets, but somebody. He's going to be one of those. I don't feel as confidently about it as I did with Herndon. I don't feel as confidently as I did with Sam Darnold. And in those situations, I thought when those players were set to leave, Herndon kind of came out of nowhere. I didn't know he was going to be traded. Sam Darnold was more predictable with how things were playing out. And Herndon, as a Herndon stan, I said, man, Herndon's going to light it up with the Vikings. Kirk Cousins going to love that guy. And he did nothing. Sam Darnold, I'm like, man, Christian McCaffrey, Joe Brady is this offensive wizard. He would later be fired. I'm like, man, they're going to figure it all out. Sam Darnold's actually going to look pretty good down there in Carolina. That obviously happened for the start of the season, and then it all fell apart. So I don't feel as confident about Mims as opposed to either of those other two situations. And maybe that's good news for Mims because I apparently have a terrible track record. But, my belief that was all going to change was not true. But I hope so. I like Mims. I think he's a good guy. It hasn't worked out for a variety of reasons. Again, he showed some pop in his rookie year. A coaching change happens. He doesn't jive in the same way with Adam Gase that he did with Robert Saleh, or vice versa, rather. And ultimately, like I said, that's just going to happen occasionally. And you have to overcome that to be an NFL player. And he was unable to. So good luck at his next stop, but he will not be cut. I would be surprised. I think he does get traded. Back to Brian Farrell on YouTube. This is the sad reality of this man's career, period. Health was an issue. Production, when allowed, was an issue. Sad reality. Yeah, a lot of it. So you go to the COVID, which I was just talking about with Jay. COVID affects everyone differently. He lost a lot of weight from COVID, if I remember correctly. So he had the food poisoning. He had COVID. He had the playbook in general. He struggled to go from Adam Gase to Robert Saleh and Michael LaFleur. He didn't buy in initially. So at first he's like, what I was doing with Adam Gase was great. Like, screw you, LaFleur. So that a shitty attitude participated or played a factor in the playbook assimilation. And then when he finally bought in, it was almost too late. Like, they were like talking him up this offseason, like, man, he's bought in. Like, you have to buy in immediately or not, I guess. And he was jeopardized in a lot of different ways. So it is a sad story for a second round pick. And the Jets have had a long curse of second-round picks. Devin Smith, Stephen Hill, and Denzel Mims now joins that illustrious club of former second-round wide receivers at this point. And maybe he'll change that destiny in the future. Welcome to the show, John Hepburn. Hey, fellers, what's popping? Let's go to my YouTube membership again, guys. If you're watching live here, we're doing a kind of a spontaneous video because of the breaking news. There's several ways you guys can choose to support the show. Let me throw up one way. My boy Kobe, how we doing? He is the first member of my YouTube membership club, which is the Boy Green Super Fan Club. And as a Buffalo Jet fan says, for a cup of coffee, you could support the show. Allows me to get equipment, allows me to get phenomenal guests, and all kinds of investments into the show. So you can be a member of the show. Number two, if you're watching on YouTube, feel free to do a YouTube super chat. You throw a bit of change into my tin cup and dance monkey, and I will, of course, answer your question. Of course, guarantee I try to answer everyone's questions if I can, but sometimes the comments skip around. But super chat guarantees that your comment gets answered. And of course, if you just want to support in a free way, and it means just as much, maybe not just as much, but pretty close, like the video, hit subscribe for more awesome content, live streams. We've had a lot of live streams this week, a lot of breaking news to discuss. But Kobe, welcome to the program. Jessica Moore 82711. I wouldn't trade him. He's under contract and be Davis's replacement next year. If we cut Davis, that saves $10.5 million with dead cap of $666,000. That is true for 2023. Denzel Mims is young, still 24 years of age, and 2 years left on his contract. Again, just because he requested a trade does not mean you have to acquiesce. As I mentioned a couple of examples earlier in a variety of sports, and particularly football. Again, Joe Douglas not going to cut him. If teams try to like bait the Jets and say, screw you, we're not trading for him, we know you're going to cut him, then I think Joe Douglas will be stubborn and keep him on the roster and let him rot. Now, I'm sure that's not what Denzel Mims wants. Obviously, that's not what Denzel Mims' agent wants. But yeah, I think he's going to do what's best for the team. As to pull the famous line draft day, because I love that movie, where he turns to Brian Drew and says, I'm going to do what's best for the team. Trade me. I'm going to do what's best for the team. So to quote a line from one of my favorite movies of all time, Draft Day, he will do what's best for the team. Brian Farrell, this is a great point. Again, I hope I have the opportunity. We'll see how the week sets up. I've lost all track of days. I believe tomorrow's Friday. We have Jets Giants on Sunday, and Saturday I call a championship football game Saturday night. But I believe before we get to Saturday night, I'm hoping to do a 53-man roster projection. We'll see if I get it in. If not, I'll try to do it after the game. But we'll see if it all comes together. The reason why I bring that up is because my pitch for 53-man roster projection, and it was even before the Mims trade, to be honest with you, the trade request, I would keep more tight ends and wide receivers. Like the 5 wide receivers you already talked about are locks and Jeff Smith, Braxton Berrios, Elijah Moore, Garrett Wilson, and Corey Davis. But I'd almost keep the 5 and then keep 4 tight ends with Lawrence Cager, Tyler Conklin, CJ Uzama, and Jeremy Ruckert, because I just think I don't want Cager to go away. And I wrote a piece about this for Heavy on Jets. So if you guys enjoy reading Jets content, Heavy on Jets, it's a cool Facebook community. Like the page, we're streaming live there right now, and we do all the time. Got some fun guests and things of that nature, so check out the articles. But there was a report that the New York Giants, when teams joint practice, quick diatribe here, when teams joint practice against one another, it's becoming a lot more common in the NFL. The teams scout each other. It gives you unparalleled insight that you wouldn't normally have for a group of players. Like, essentially, you have not essentially. You have 8. So for the Giants, who hosted the joint practice today, they had 80 Jets players in their building. And they know that the Jets are only keeping 53 plus your 16-man practice squad. So there are some players maybe the Giants can poach. And from Zach Rosenblatt, Mike Kane, a few others, the Giants tight end room, for those who don't know, and you probably don't, this is a Jets YouTube channel exclusively, the Giants tight end room sucks. Last year, they had guys like Evan Ingram, Kyle Rudolph, etc. I mean, this year, they got nada. Bellinger. I could barely. Austin Mack. No, that's a linebacker. I don't know. They got a lot of randos. Look at the Giants roster when you get a chance. Tight end sucks. So these insiders suggested that the Giants could poach one of the Jets tight ends that shakes free. Kenny Yeboah, Lawrence Cager, Trayvon Wesco. And I'm like, well, you can have Wesco if you want. I'm not a big fan of Wesco. But the other two young, promising guys in Yabo and Cager, I don't want the Giants going anywhere near these guys. Now, remember, the younger guys who have less than 4 years of vested service time in the league are subject to waivers. So they have no choice. If the Jets cut them, they can't do a backwards, like, wink, wink deal. Oh, I'll just clear through waivers and sign back with you. Those youngsters don't have a choice. Now, the vested veterans do. So, for instance, the Jets can do that with a guy like Vinny Curry. Hey, we're doing some roster gymnastics, Vinny. We're going to cut you, but see you tomorrow, pal. So they can mess around with a guy like him, and maybe Vinny just loves the Jets, so he would do something like that. But you can't do that for the young guys. So Lawrence Cager could get stolen. Kenny Yeboah could get stolen. That's a thing I fear. But to your point, I would keep more tight ends and wide receivers. But we'll see what happens there. John Hepburn, Buffalo Jet was suggesting a trade with Chicago tackle, second-year player, fifth-round pick, Broom for Mims. Chicago tackle, second-year player, fifth-round pick. Oh, I don't know who the Broom guy is, or Brome, or maybe Brom, maybe. I'm not sure. I've heard people bring up Tevin Jenkins. That's interesting. But here are so let's kind of talk about this, because this is obviously a theme of the show. I wrote an article about it on Heavy on Jets right now about my trade proposal I came up with tonight. We'll talk about it here on the show. I think there are a couple trouble areas, for lack of a better word, that's not very serious. Offensive tackle, defensive tackle, safety. Those are the top three positions to me that jump out, because here's the thing. According to the experts, again, Joe Douglas has gotten more return on value for picks than anybody. So maybe he surprises us again. But the perceived value of Denzel Mims, according to a variety of experts, is a late day 3 pick. And for those who are not as draft lingo savvy, that means a 4th, 5th, 6th, or 7th rounder. And when you say late, it usually means 6th or 7th in some conditional sense. In other words, you're scraping the bottom of the barrel. You are getting like nothing for Denzel Mims in those scenarios. And if that's true, because I don't know if that's true, but if that is true, instead of giving him away for a half-eaten Snickers bar, what I would do is do the player-for-player swap. It is a very common technique for teams to simply trade players to one another. For instance, it worked out pretty well for the Jets a couple years ago. They traded former first-round bust Calvin Pryor for some guy named Demario Davis, who had a second stint with the Jets and ended up having a Pro Bowl campaign. So I am of the ballpark. Let me start this off by preferring a player-for-player swap. And again, the positions that immediately jump to mind that could help the Jets, in no particular order: offensive tackle, defensive tackle, and safety. They've got starters at all those positions. Maybe you can squint for safety, but they need more depth at those spots. So those are areas I'd look at. So that's an interesting one. I guess I'll just reveal mine. Again, it's on, if you guys just look up heavy.com and go to the Jets tab, it's the article. I posted it tonight. It's not on our Facebook page yet. It'll post tomorrow morning. But I analyzed two things. I looked at a Bleacher Report article that said, here are players that are basically kind of on the trade block for all the 32 NFL teams. I said, oh, that's a good place to kind of look to see who could be available, and then we could try to figure out the rest. And one player that really stuck out to me, and obviously you couldn't trade this player straight up for Denzel Mims because no one would do it. Harrison Smith of the Minnesota Vikings. He's still one of the best safeties in the league. He's an older player, 33 years of age, which is why he would potentially be on the block here. And the pitch from Bleacher Report said, well, you know, you'd rather get rid of him a year too early than a year too late, which is the Bill Belichick method for getting rid of players. And maybe you get rid of him and he's still good, which, by the way, he's a stud. Former All-Pro, 6-time Pro Bowler, former Notre Dame Golden Domer, baby, and a ball hawk, 29 career interceptions. He's really talented. But if you could get rid of him a year early rather than a year late, then the Vikings would be willing to move and groove. It's a new regime and everything else. I love Jordan Whitehead. I don't love LaMarcus Joyner. LaMarcus Joyner's barely played any football the last 2 years, and he played out of position before he came to the Jets. I'm questionable on LaMarcus Joyner. So if you could upgrade from LaMarcus Joyner, Harrison Smith would be a hell of an upgrade. I would love it. Now, again, it wouldn't be straight up Mims for Harrison Smith. Harrison Smith is a worldly accomplished player, and Denzel Mims hasn't even caught a touchdown pass in his career. So you'd have to attach a late day 2 pick or early day 3 pick to make it happen. And maybe Joe Douglas isn't on board for that. But what Harrison Smith would bring would make the Jets secondary arguably the best in the entire NFL. And if you had Harrison Smith, Jordan Whitehead, Sauce Gardner, DJ Reed, Michael Carter II, that's arguably the best secondary in the league. Talent, star power, and it all. So that's one trade I would like to see. But teams I would immediately call just because we're in the conversation are ones that had injuries. The Broncos lost Tim Patrick for the year. The Broncos I'm calling. The Dallas Cowboys, they have a couple of injuries. Michael Gallup is obviously recovering from offseason surgery. They just lost James Washington, if I have the name right. If I believe he was the one who ended up getting injured for the Cowboys. He's out for the foreseeable future. I'm trying to think of other teams. Those are two off the top of my head, but there's more. The Bears. The Bears need wide receiver help. So I'd attack teams that need wide receivers or who have had injuries, and then I'd try to create some sort of quasi-bidding war and try to see if you could get some combination of picks and or player. If it's picks, maybe get two conditional, like a conditional 5th and a conditional 7th or something. We'll have to see from that perspective. But, hey, I like all trade suggestions. Bring them on. Jay Spector, Mims doesn't fit LaFleur's offensive scheme and don't believe Saleh likes him for whatever reason. The not likes him for whatever reason seems real. I know Saleh's been on the Mims bandwagon lately, but no, it seems like there was some sort of rub immediately. And I think, but again, it sounds like Mims didn't buy into the Jet system either. So it seemed like it wasn't just like Saleh being a dick. Like it seemed like it was both sides not kind of going with one another. So take that for what you will. Kobe with a great reminder on our YouTube. Hit that like button per usual, people. Again, if you're watching, see, we got like 85 people in here right now, which is amazing, by the way, that we got 85 people in here on a Thursday night, baby. It just goes to show the power of course, the fans, which is amazing. So hit that like button if you haven't already. And if you're getting a little trigger happy on the buttons, why not hit subscribe, of course, as well, as we're continuing to climb and ascend the leaderboard on YouTube for Jets content creators. So, Kobe, appreciate you. A little shake and bake. Who doesn't like that? My good friend, Talladega Nights. Sup, Boy Green. I'm thinking to swap Revenge Jenkins for Mims to Chicago. I would be fine with that. That would be intriguing. You know, earlier this offseason kind of hesitated with it, but no, that would make sense. Again, you've got your starters. Jenkins is a big boy. He has a lot of injury concerns. Of course, anyone you trade for within reason is going to have some level of a bugaboo. So you just kind of have to take whatever baggage you are cool with. So you're going to have to kind of figure it out there. But Tevin Jenkins is an interesting one. I like that one. Good suggestion, Shake and Bake. I like that. If you guys have a suggestion for a Denzel Mims trade, feel free to share it in the comments, or feel free to comment in general, because again, this is a interactive program. Let's go back to Kobe here. Who's going to be playing on Sunday? The full starters, all healthy starters. We had a couple injury scares today at practice. The Jets-Giants joint practice first time in 17 years. Jermaine Johnson was limping, and DJ Reed was clutching his knee. Now, both of those, at first, you're like, oh, God. Cancel joint practice immediately. But Jermaine immediately went back to drills. DJ Reed went to the sideline, had his helmet on him. He did not return to practice, but he looked fine. At first, he was angry and kind of cursing at himself as he walked to the sideline, but he looks healthy, so it looks like they dodged any major bullets there, which thank God, because the regular season's right around the corner, for that matter. Let's see who else is playing. So again, starters are expected to play for a quarter and a half. Robert Saleh did not 100% lock that plan in yet. Again, it is somewhat surprising. Normally, again, we are in a brave new world here with 3 preseason games. I think this is only our second year in this system, but normally the last final preseason game is a cream puff game for the backups, which, by the way, I still enjoy. But normally it's a cream puff game. In this particular case, it'll be a mini dress rehearsal. Normally a full dress rehearsal. Your starters going to the third quarter. It sounds like Saleh will not go that deep. Again, only a quarter and a half. Get their feet wet ahead of the Ravens game. But everyone's expected to play. That is healthy, including Quinnen Williams and everybody else. Excuse me. Talking Jets with Tigo. All right, let's get another swirl, everybody. Anyone who's drinking down at home, for me, it's a Mountain Dew, but different strokes, different folks for everybody. Oh, yeah, baby. All right, let's see. Hello, Paul. Glad to see you're back and better than ever. You think we could get a higher mid-round pick, like a 4th, if we throw the Cashman pick with Mims? Yeah, again, which, of course, Talking Jets with Tigo. You're suggesting the Chris Herndon deal, which the Jets packaged a 6-rounder with Herndon to get a 4th-rounder. That's another possibility, potentially, if you want to try to make something like happen. Blake Cashman. And here's why I know a lot of people are making jokes that the Jets are not going to have any offers because they believe Mims stinks. But again, look at everything they've ever done. Jordan Willis trade, Blake Cashman trade, Sam Darnold trade, Jamal Adams trade, all these trades where people didn't think they were getting diddly crap. Well, Jamal, you thought you were getting something, but the other guys like Jordan Willis, like, come on, Blake Cashman, like, no way we're getting some. And they did, and they surprised. So 100%. I think we could get a little bit of a surprise. 4th is high. I hope we get something like that. That's the dream. The dream is something like an early day 3 pick, which would be a 4th-rounder. That'd be nice, even if you slap a 6th-rounder on it. So that's a trade I'm cool with, for sure. John Hepburn, is there a problem with Baylor wide receivers transitioning to the pros? Well, the first one that jumps off the top of my head, if I'm not mistaken, Josh Gordon, outside of the pod, of course. He transitioned beautifully. Was a dominant receiver. I know there's Corey Coleman. He didn't do very hot. I'm trying to think of other Baylor. Yeah, let me look at Baylor receivers off the top of my head. Those are a couple ones that I guess Baylor NFL. Let me see. Maybe Baylor NFL draft. Let me see. If list of Baylor players, okay, yeah, here we go. Here's a good like a list. Oh yeah, 1937. Yeah, let's start there. Okay, let me skip ahead a little bit here. Yeah, 1937. I keep seeing you're bringing that up. Let's go all the way down. Try to see if I remember some of these guys. So we had Tyquan Thornton, obviously TBD there to see what he is, but I'm not feeling great. So you had Denzel Mims. Obviously, he struggled. Jalen Hurd, I forgot about him, the athletic freak. Too many injuries, unfortunately. Corey Coleman, I mentioned. He was a bust. Tevin Reese, the former, he was a 7th-rounder. So, all right. A couple of, we had Josh Gordon, who I mentioned, who was a superstar. Terrence Williams, that's another, I forgot about Terrence. He was a guy that, he is very Denzel Mims-ish. He makes crazy catches and then drops slants. So he was another. Kendall Wright, the Baylor first-rounder of the Tennessee Titans a bunch of years ago, as I'm looking through this. David Geddes, he was a late-round pick, and that covers us through the 21st century. So let me cycle back through here. Kendall Wright, again, he was a speedster, but he kind of flamed out. Josh Gordon was a superstar. Terrence Williams had a solid career, nothing crazy. Tevin Reese was a late-round pick, didn't do anything. Corey Coleman was a bust completely. Jalen Hurd, again, injuries, and Denzel Mims so far has been a bust. And then Tyquan Thornton. So, yeah, I mean, you could make a compelling argument. I've heard a couple of people say that before. So maybe there is something about it. It's the Baylor offense. Let's see. Brian Farrell. If Joe Douglas got a 4 for Herndon or whatever for Cashman, he'll make a deal from them for sure. Yeah. So again, that's my confidence is I believe he deserves the benefit of the doubt and should continue to get the benefit of the doubt as far as I'm concerned. Yankees are killing Oakland right now. Great. I hate the Yankees, but good for the Yankees. Good for them. I saw that it was a late night affair. Oh boy. Yeah. Jay Spector. How bad is JD's 2020 draft class once Mims is gone? Yeah, so let's try to see if I can remember off the top of my head. So Mekhi Becton, again, he's missed 2 of 3 years with injuries. Not good. Second round, you have Denzel Mims. Not great. Third round, Jabari Zuniga already got cut. People forget that, and then he went to the practice squad. He's looking good now, but not good like, wow, what a great pick. But there's a chance he could get traded. You have Ashton Davis, who's been a bust. He's fighting for his life. James Morgan was already cut already. Cameron Clark, I'm just looking out into the ethos. I'm just trying to remember if I can remember the entire class, which is embarrassing. James Morgan got cut already. Cameron Clark retired. LaMichael P. Ryan's fighting for his life. Bryce Hall, really good 5th-rounder, so he was good. And Braden Mann was a punter. So, yeah, I mean, it's bad. It's horrendous. Now, are you going to give him a pass because it was a COVID year? Are you going to give him a pass? It was his first draft ever. There's less information available than any draft in NFL history. You could make legitimate excuses for him, or you could just say, hey, he blew it. So you could go on either side of the fence, but obviously the class does not look good. It looks terrible, to be blunt. I love this. JETS. I don't know if you knew where this quote was from, but that is a Mike Tomlin quote. And Robert Saleh brought it up during Flight 2022. We want volunteers, not hostages. That is a Mike Tomlin quote. And I believe so. That's the one thing that we will find out very soon here, because so far Joe Douglas, according to Denzel Mims' agent, has refused to release Denzel Mims. And again, I'm not surprised by that. But will they eventually just say, you know what? To your point, we want volunteers, not hostages. We want people who want to be here. He doesn't want to be here. Let's dump him. But I think they're going to try to trade him, but we'll see. Throw him a few past Sunday to see what we could get for him next week. Of course, yeah, you want to hype and blow him up in any way. I don't imagine they would just bench him, even with the trade stuff. I'd be surprised if that happened. But yeah, try to blow him up as much as possible before the Tuesday soft deadline, I'd say. And that and man punter could be really hit or miss. So yeah, it doesn't look good. Let's go to Jacob Finnegan. Mims in a second for Roquan and Jenkins. Damn, I got to tell you, right now the Jets feel like they're solved at linebacker for 2022, although CJ Mosley is probably gone next year. Quincy Williams is a free agent, and Quan Alexander is a free agent. If I could get Roquan is so good. Like the Jets, it would be a luxury addition, because it's not like they need Roquan Smith. They're fine at linebacker, but Roquan is a stud, man, of a two-time All-Pro. I would love to see some creative trade to get him. We would do another breaking news show, and we'd jump on here, and I'd be doing a jig. Jay Spector, Mims to Pats and haunts us forever. Yeah, again, I had the same fears about not necessarily in that way because they went to different places, but Chris Herndon, I'm like, he's going to be so good, and he wasn't. And Sam Darnold, I thought in Carolina, I thought he would be good. I didn't disagree with the decision. I'm like, all right, they made the assessment that Zach Wilson is more talented than Sam Darnold. Obviously, he's still TBD, but I agreed with the decisions in both processes. But I'm like, man, they're going to be good. And they weren't. So we'll see if he is a guy that will haunt us. And there it is. Yeah, everyone's fear, right? Young stench. I swear if Mims goes to Pats and plays well. Yeah, you have to, everyone has that fear. Sergeant Mike, a good loyal guy on the show. Barrios, love his grip, but he's 5'9" and a kamikaze punt returner and kick returner and catches pass over the middle. I doubt he lasts the whole year. Keep Mims. His frustration will fade when he plays. That's very possible. Again, I mentioned it just because a guy requests a trade does not mean you have to move him. But even still, if there's 5 other guys above him, but again, he's super cheap. So again, the only fear, and I don't know, you don't know this until you push somebody to the edge and you have an animal backed into the corner. But the only way that you would consider cutting him is if he went total nuclear and started, being an absolute cancer in the locker room. Then you would have to get rid of him then. But besides that, would he just be a team guy and say, I'll wait for my opportunity? I don't know. Obviously, it doesn't seem that way. He requested a trade, but we'll see. Zandy Adrian on Facebook. What do you think JD could get for Mims in a trade, ceiling and floor? So the floor, oh boy. Well, the floor, I guess, is nothing, is that they cut him. But again, to me, the only way that happens is if he goes nuclear, and I don't think he will. So I'll say a realistic floor is like a conditional 7. Now, again, Joe Douglas has not made those kind of deals. He has always gotten something of some substantial value. Even Blake Cashman at 6, we're like, yeah, that's pretty substantial value. So, I still think the floor is like a 6th or 7th. And then a ceiling is the player-for-player swap. Again, it worked out for the Jets a couple years ago. They traded the Louisville Slugger for Demario Davis and had a really good year. So a player-for-player swap seems to make more sense at this point than a dart throw late that can't help you. I'd rather have something that can help you right now. So ceiling, again, a player-for-player swap, a player like, wow, either a veteran that another team isn't jiving with anymore, a disappointing player that's young, like a Tevin Jenkins or whatever, fell out of favor with the coaching staff. That's kind of where it could go. Let's see. Kenny on Facebook. Go Jets, baby. Yes, sir. Kenry Sterling Taylor. I love it. I got my full name out there, too. Paul Andrew Esden Jr. Let's see. Again, this is a Jet show, and I try to always keep it that way. I get that Matt Araiza, the punt god of the Buffalo Bills, is in the AFC East. Yes, he is accused right now of some very grotesque things. Again, I'm not a lawyer. I'm not a doctor. I'm not any of those things, and this is a Jets podcast. But if those things are true, it's absolutely disgusting, and apparently the Bills have known about this. for about a month and have done nothing about it, including cutting the other punter that was in competition. He's a really good punter, football player, but the stuff is grotesque. But I won't go into much more detail because, again, this is a Jets podcast, but it's gross if true. You guys can look that up if you want more details on that story from today. It's everywhere. Sergeant Mike, Mims has been professional about this, just like Sam Darnold was. Jamal Adams burned all the bridges and busted the dam on the way out and then got $17 million. Go figure. Yeah, again, players have to make that determination, though. Like, Sam Darnold never seemed like the guy. Jamal seemed potentially like he could be pushed at that point. Mims, we've seen a couple of cracks in the foundation, if we want to say it. I played the clips earlier where the frustration was becoming apparent. He did a really good job of hiding it all behind his high guard, but he has been professional about this. But the key, if he really wants to storm his way out, is throwing it all over the place, is throwing a tantrum. Let me try to skip through here. Whoa, Michael Clemens. Hey, Michael Clemens. Ah, man, you're one of my favorite players, Michael. It's great to have another Jets player on the show. Had Tyler Conklin, your teammate, on the show, Michael, a little while ago. So, Michael Clemens, wow. Oh, great to have you, man. I actually have a clip of you, Michael, from One Jets Drive. I plan on tweeting out. Unfortunately, the entire Denzel Mims craziness delayed that clip. But, Michael, I'll make sure I tag you when that comes available later. Okay, let's see. Let's see. Back to Rivka Board. I just don't think they're going to keep Cager. Unfortunately, I'd rather Cager at wide receiver 5 or 6. Again, he is tight end, but I understand what you're saying. But we'll see. We'll see. Again, I think the other part of the conversation that leads into this is Nick Bodden. What do? Do you keep a fullback? Do you not keep a fullback? Again, I wouldn't keep Nick Bodden, and I'd have Jeremy Ruckert contribute in those ways. He's getting healthy, and he's a nasty blocker, and then you save a roster spot, but that's just me. Kenry, Denzel Mims has no leverage to request a trade. He is low value right now. Although the value to him, I think, is irrelevant. Like, whether he's playing good or bad, like, he doesn't care what the Jets get back for him. He just wants himself to be in a better situation. So I would say almost no player is ever in a position to request a trade. However, we'll see. I imagine that the Jets acquiesce if they get something of relative value. Okay, let's keep going. Oh, this is a good question from John O'Sullivan on YouTube. What undrafted free agents are most likely to make this team? Zonovan Bam Knight is one right off the top of my head that has a great opportunity. I think the Jets should keep 4 running backs. And if they do, you have Breece Hall, Michael Carter, Tevin Coleman, and I believe Zonovan Knight, a.k.a. Bam, would be the choice there. I'm like going through the roster in my head. Let's see. Again, the wide receivers, it's tough, like a Calvin Jackson or an Irvin Charles. At this point, unfortunately, I don't think any of them make it. I think they rock with 5. They trade Denzel Mims as the 6, and then maybe they sneak those guys in the practice squad. Offensive line, nothing. Defensive line, nothing. Linebacker DQ Thomas, the guy you'd like to see in the practice squad. Again, he just hasn't made enough noise in camp, but the fact that he's made it to what appears to be the final wave of roster cuts is impressive. But yeah, Zonovan Knight, that's the one guy. And it's been like one every couple of years. Javelin Guidry, Bryce Huff, Isaiah Dunn. There's been a nice lineage here, so they get opportunities for sure. Let's keep going here. Talking Jets with Tigo. I think Cager's getting overhyped by looking good against CFL players. I'm not on the Cager hype train. Don't think he would look that good against 1s, let alone even 2s. I say this when, and respectfully, talking Jets, everyone has an opinion here, by the way. And again, as much as I'm an egomaniac and they go, boy, Green, you're cool. I'm like, oh, stop it. Like, I like competing opinions as well. Here's my take. When anyone brings up essentially the point that you have, that, like, Cager's doing it against scrubs, Chris Streveler, and I'm not saying Chris Streveler's on you, but all the talk I've been hearing throughout the preseason, like Chris Streveler's doing it against scrubs, let's see him do it against starters. Chris Streveler and Lawrence Cager don't pick when they play. They just play when they play. And Chris Streveler Has done it more than lightning in the bottle once. He's done it now for 2 games, so that's impressive. And Cager has impressed from the spring, training camp, games. It's been a consistent flow. Now, I get it. Lawrence Cager's been here before, and he's quote-unquote burned us by looking good and then not making the team. I'm on the Cager hype train, but to each their own. I think that's the best way to put it. Let's see. And Rivka. Okay, the tackle from the Bears is Larry Borum. He's 23. Yeah, the name doesn't ring any bells. I'm a big draft guy, so nothing's ringing a bell there. I'll have to look, do some more info on him. But thanks for the name, guys. JTS. Any chance Cowan Jackson Jr. makes a team practice squad? There's a chance. He's looked pretty good to potentially be that 6. I think at a minimum he'll be on the practice squad. But right now my gut says he's not going to make the 53. Let's queue. Let me keep looking here. Feel free to drop your comments in. We'll go for a little while longer here. Sergeant Mike, I keep hearing about Jeff Smith and his value on special teams. Has anyone ever seen him make a tackle? Maybe it happened when I was getting a Heineken. Yeah, I will say this. I've seen him as a solid special teamer. I don't have the special teamer, and I don't even know if PFF has that readily available. Let me see if I can get it up with Jeff Smith on the PFF. I've seen the other grades, like when I look up pass rushers and stuff. Let me see if it's even available. No, I just got rushing overall and receiving. So I don't have his special teams extra analytics in front of me from PFF. So I can't give you the numbers on him, unfortunately, Sergeant. But maybe it is what you're getting a Heineken. Again, the Jets coaching staff, seems to love him. I believe Robert's always the one who called him like this great gunner and someone that really revs his engine and does everything the right way. And I think the other part that they really like that I think goes beyond the special teams, they don't say it a lot, is he's a gizmo gadget guy. He's a former quarterback at Boston College. And if Braxton ever gets injured, he could be their guy. Remember, they had Jamison Crowder last year as another guy with Berrios, but with him being gone, that could be another go-go gadget reason to keep Jeff Smith as well. So keep an eye on that for Mike LaFleur's creativity on offense. That could be another plus to keep him. Let's keep going here. Trying to catch up on these comments. Robert Bruce, Damian Harris of the Patriots having problems with his hamstring, has to practice a couple days. I saw some trade rumors about him, so maybe he gets moved. I've heard this a few times. D-Don on YouTube would not trade him, being Denzel Mims, because of Corey Davis potentially getting injured. I've heard that before too. And again, if you can't get a good deal, you keep him. I saw that as well, Robert Bruce. Isaiah Wynn, the 5th-year option, former first-rounder, is on the trade block. Maybe Cowboys, Tyron Smith, a couple other people have some offensive tackle issues. Just thank God the Jets signed Dwayne Brown when they did, or they'd be in a bidding war like the Cowboys and other teams. So, woo! Thank God for that. Vinny and the Jets. I'll be shocked if we get a bag of chips for Mims. God damn, he sucks. It's clearly not a professional football player. I won't go that far. There's been players been on the Jets that do suck. Matt Mulligan sucks. Who's someone else that sucks? Oh, I know Wayne Hunter had moments, but he sucks. Bruno Giacomini, he sucked. I'm just grabbing random Jets from the past. Yeah, like those guys suck. Mims, I think, has some potential, but we'll see if the potential turns into anything. Let's see. D-Don, his age is bringing in a spotlight. Sunday he will be on display. I'm sure. Again, what do the Jets have to lose by not putting him on display? So that makes sense. Jay Spector, love the Harrison Smith trade. If JD can pull that off, Smith is a ball hawk. Yeah, he's a ball hawk. He's a freak. I saw him back at Notre Dame way back in the day. He's an older guy, again, 33, and it wouldn't be straight up. Again, I mentioned that again, and we're going to, as long as Denzel Mims is requesting trades and people are going to talk about it, I'll probably come up with a couple of trade proposals over the weekend. Some other guys, I may write about some of these. I was kind of analyzing the league. Michael Brockers of the Detroit Lions is a veteran that's coming off a bad year, but He's a guy that has had some really good run defense years, according to the PFF analytics. He'd be a nice defensive tackle, a big hog molly to add to the middle of the line. He's a guy I like. I'm trying to think of one other name that's slipping me. I know Tristan Hill of the Cowboys is another one if you wanted to do a player-for-player swap with Denzel Mims, defensive tackle formerly of Central Florida, although he's had some extra issues. Those are a couple, but I'll keep looking as well. Shake and bake. Let's go back to you. Boy Green, what about free safety comes to mind? Could we see Eddie Jackson to NYJ for Mims in a 2023 third rounder? Mims has the upside at receiver. Eddie Jackson has not lived up to the contract, so I don't know if it would cost a third rounder, maybe like a fourth or fifth, but that'd be interesting. And I'd have to check how the money translates. But I like the creativity. That's where we're going here, because I think defensive tackle, you could get a really good guy who is really good against a run, and that would work. The offensive tackle thing would be completely backup. So safety or defensive tackle, you could get very creative to get a real big name in here, potentially, and then package it with the pick. Again, you have the creativity. You should be creative. Brian Farrell, a great point. And I got a bunch of tweets that are just saving in the drafts to tweet out, but the Denzel Mims breaking news kind of delayed several of them. So I got some stuff on Zach Wilson. I think I'm going to share that tomorrow. But I agree, Brian, I'm going to be there week 1, so it would be cool to see him fully healthy in their week 1. That's what I anticipated when I bought my ticket. But in all seriousness, I want him healthy. And again, if that's week 1, great. If that's week 2 against the Browns, great. If that's week 3 against the Bengals, great. I don't think it goes anywhere beyond week 3. I think at worst, he's going to be starting at home week 3 against the Cincinnati Bengals. And at best, at this current moment, I believe it will be the Browns game. Although Robert Saleh said today, I was going to play the clip, but I'll just tell you what the clip said, is Robert Saleh did say that they can wait all the way till game week to make that decision. So we'll find out in the next couple of weeks. Okay, let's keep it going here. Oh, yeah, the comments are jumping all over the place, so I apologize. But again, Super Chats always skip you up the line, so just a reminder for that, then I can't miss it. It's a huge color. It makes it harder to miss for my old ass. Oh, here we go. We got older than dirt Jets fan, a.k.a. Walt. I hope Joe Douglas gets a decent return if he does pull off a trade from him. So maybe a good backup offensive lineman, at least one better than we have. Again, I feel like offensive linemen, starting or backup, are the forbidden fruit. Everyone wants one, but there's not many of them out there. So if he can, obviously, that would be great. But we'll have to wait and see. Who is that offensive lineman? I don't know. Carmelo L. Borey's way. Mims to Packers with Rodgers would be best for his career. Yeah, that's a great one, and I'll look into that as a possible. I'll write that one down. That's a good one. I like that. Like I said, I've mentioned the Cowboys, Broncos, a couple other ones, Packers. Let me put that. 1 second. Let me put that in there. Packers, Mims. I see. Yeah, that's a good one. I'll put that in my notes to kind of do some more research into that one. But yeah, him with Aaron Rodgers, Russell Wilson, any of that would be pretty good for his career, and I'd love to see it. I'm rooting for Mims. I think he's a good kid. But yeah, Michael Clemens, the 2020 class is really bad. We wish you were in that one, to be honest. You'd make it look even better, Michael. If I could call you that, or Mr. Clemens. Debo? Do you go by the nickname Debo? That's what I want to know, Michael. Apparently none of your teammates told you your nickname was Debo. That was interesting. And you're up pretty late, man. You got to practice tomorrow, so you may want to get to bed here soon, Michael. Not that I'm telling you what to do, because I'm not. Let's make that clear. Let's see. PJ Burkett. Are you comfortable with both the line on offense and defense? Again, I'd like some more depth at offensive tackle. And on the defensive line, I'd like a little beef at defensive tackle. That'll be the waiver wire. The Jets have a really talented team, so I don't believe they'll be scouring it in the same way they have over the last few years. But those are the two trouble areas. I don't think that has to be extended too far. But those are the two I'm strongly looking at. Back to PJ Burkett. Great question. What do you think is the strongest and weakest positional group on the team? Strongest defensive line. There's just too much there. Jermaine Johnson, Quentin Williams, Jacob Martin. I'm going to miss some too because of Carl Lawson. So many. Weakest. You could argue quarterback if you don't believe in Zach Wilson, but probably. So I mentioned defensive tackle already. So that's kind of cheating if to say defensive line is the strongest and then nitpick defensive tackle. Linebacker maybe, because like C.J. Mosley is older, Quincy Williams is a flawed player, and like Quan Alexander is a veteran, but there's a reason he was available so late. So probably linebacker. Linebacker, weak. Defensive line, strong. Wow, breaking news here. Michael Clemens prefers Calvin Jackson Jr. than Mims. A little teammate on teammate crime. Okay, causing controversy. Write that story. Happy we have content, but we're keeping Mims. Yeah, I mean, yeah, for me too. I planned on coming home and going to bed after a long day at work, but I saw the Mims thing, said, we got to hop on the stream, baby. So, yeah, I hope we are. He's talented, but I don't know if it will. Ooh, there's a good one. There's one. Hayton Nate. How about this? Raiders trade Mims for Leatherwood. Leatherwood, a young guy, plays both tackle and guard. Maybe a new, kind of scenery. Kind of does. Now, that's the kind of trades we're talking about. I mean, the Harrison Smith trade is a pipe dream because you have to attach a high enough pick with Mims to try to entice the Vikings to pull the trigger. Like this, disappointing player for disappointing player in some sense makes a lot of sense. So I could understand that. And Jeffrey R. Hi. Hey, welcome to the show. Let's see. Orlando Rodriguez. You could do worse than Megan Fox, Paul. You could do worse. Good taste. Thank you very much. I know that's kind of a nostalgic throwback. I'm not sure what Megan Fox doing this day. So wait, did she like with Machine Gun Kelly? I don't know. I digress. But yeah, I remember her from Transformers. Yeah, baby. Michael Clemens giving the support for LaMichael Pirine. Is this the Green Bean Burner account? Like, what's happening here? LaMichael Pirine's getting cut. Sorry. Let's go back to John O'Sullivan. How many tight ends are they going to keep on the roster? Minimum 3, obviously. Uzama, Conklin, Ruckert. I think it's 4. And I think the 4th is Cager. So I think he ends up being the guy. We'll see if I'm right, though. Go back to Seth Castro on YouTube. Do you see the Jets using 5D line packages like a 5-1-5 with someone like Clemens on the inside? That's creative. I will say Robert Sala, again, it's not like Robert Sala is going to reveal his blueprints to the team, but when he spoke to the media today, he was talking about kind of like his philosophies in the defense. And he goes, we're 4 defensive linemen, hand in the dirt. And then on third down, he kind of smiled and says, we'll get a little creative. So maybe situationally, but he's a pretty plain Jane guy. He runs simplistic 4-man fronts with a little bit of X stunt here or there, but 4-man fronts and some exotic blitz packages on third down and then man up across the board with the corners. But no, that's fun on Madden. And I would love to see it. I think Michael Clemens is talented. He will be playing both inside and outside. But no, I don't think so. Oh, my God. This was one. Boycott Activision. If Cage your pants out, I'll forgive Joe Douglas and Mike LaFleur for not drafting Isaiah Likely. Isaiah Likely out of old Coastal Carolina was one of my favorite players in the draft. He's looked like a superstar for the Ravens because they always find superstars. But, oh, man. I loved Isaiah Likely. And when I see him like having success, I'm like, man, that's a hit. Michael Clemens, Vlad Dukas sucked. I didn't even know Michael Clemens knew former Jets players. There you go. Yeah, like that's a good example. Like Vlad Dukas was terrible. Maryland, if I believe correctly. I was watching the draft in the car when I got Vlad Dukas. Shake and bake. Eddie Jackson for Mims in a 3rd rounder, Boy Green. Now we're getting somewhere. Again, I have to double check the money, but now we're getting somewhere. I like it. Ooh, Beth Page Chris. Too soon. Trade Mims for a defensive coordinator? I know not a lot of people are a fan of Jeff Ulbrich. Again, I'm going to give him a chance this year. A relative leash. It won't be one game, but again, if he continues to flop, Sal can't just throw his hands up and say, well, he's my defensive coordinator. No, like Sal, if it goes south, you got to turn your cap backward and say, all right, it's up to me. I'm the defensive guy. And he's got to take over. Let's see. Sergeant Mike. So if Zonovan Knight scores a game-breaking touchdown for the Jets and Mike Breen's calling the play, it will be his first bang, bang, bam call. He's famous for bangs and the very rare double bang. I remember, yes, I am an NBA fan as well. I love Mike Breen, yes. So let's get Mike Breen on a Jets game. Sergeant, you are full of great ideas tonight. Boycott Activision. That's interesting. There's some bill safeties that may be released. We could use the talent and the insider knowledge. Yeah, if they got rid of either of the top two, I'd love it. Jordan Poyer or Micah Hyde, one of the best safety combinations in football. Neither of those are actually getting released. Yeah, let me check the rest of their roster at safety because, I get to talk about them a lot on air on my radio show because we cover the Jets, Giants, and Bills. But, let me take a peek at their roster here. They'll probably have a couple listed at just DB overall. No. Yeah, so they kind of have their roster listed weird where they have some guys listed as straight up safety, some guys as DBs, and it's kind of convoluted. But let me see who else they got here. I don't see a lot of names here. Maybe I'm missing them as they're kind of floating between multiple categories. Like the top two starters are really good, but I don't really see anything beyond that. Maybe there's somebody I'm missing. Let's keep going here. Shake and bake. Boyger, do you see a trade with the Ravens in return for a future pick? Again, of course, Joe Douglas, connections to the Ravens organization, and they don't have a lot of wide receivers. So, that would make sense. Although the week one opponent thing would be kind of weird to give them another revenge game. They got Russell Wilson against Seattle, Baker Mayfield against Cleveland, Joe Flacco against Baltimore, and Denzel Mims against the Jets. They'd love the storyline, that's for sure. Seth, that's another good example, and one we got to write down here for joint practices is that ATL and NYG, as I mentioned earlier in the show, joint practices provide a unique opportunity to get a look at a player. Falcons obviously need all the help they could get, and the Giants are kind of weird. They actually have a lot of receivers, but they don't. If you look at the roster and the injuries, you'll understand. But yes, that's another one to circle. Sergeant Mike, when Grasshopper Zach can beat Sensei Master Sala up the stadium stairs, then it will be time for Zach to start. I'm hoping for game one. I will be there game one, MetLife Stadium. I will be there, and I hope I get to see a lot of you guys there. Let's see. Knobcraft. How long is, and I love the Bushido Jets YouTube photo. That's very specific. How long is Ulbrich going to be allowed to flounder this year before he gets dealt with? That's a great question. I think it has to be somewhat significant because I remember I couldn't find the clip after it, but I know he said this. I heard it on the Michael K Show live. Robert Sauer joined the Michael K Show like right after the year, and they basically said, "So Ulbrich, you're going to fire his ass or what?" And sometimes they give pretty good questions. And Salah like laughs it off, says, "Dude, it's been 1 year, man. What are we talking about here?" So he defended him, of course. Probably a month. Something like that. I know that's all against AFC North, so maybe it's not a great sample size, but like a month or something. Like it won't be one game, I don't think. I think he really likes Jeff Ulbrich to kind of figure his stuff out. But again, Salah is the guy who also surprised us by saying, I'm not calling defense. Jeff Ulbrich, my guy, is going to be. I'm going to be a CEO. And Jet fans are crazy. Like, oh, this is awesome. But if things go south, you can't just keep throwing your hands up and then at the end of the year say, okay, now I'll do defense. Nah. You got to be a coach and you got to go where your team needs you. Would like to see one Jets player make the NFL top 100. Need to turn the franchise around. And Jay, I'll tell you this on YouTube, commenting in. I used to watch that religiously, and now that I'm a working adult and I'm kind of 24/7 with all my jobs, obviously I do a video show when I get out of my other radio job that I was at all day. Like I used to watch it religiously. I used to love watching it. I haven't watched a lick of it. I've only seen some of the highlights. Like, wow, Josh Allen was a number 5, or this guy was number 10. Like I've seen those on social media, but I've not seen like the actual show or any of the clips yet. So I'll have to dive in on that before the season starts. But yeah, if I had to guess, Blake Tomlinson could be a future member, although offensive linemen don't always get love. Quentin Williams, Carl Lawson, and some of the sexy rookies. If they pop Sauce Gardner, Breece Hall, Garrett Wilson, they could surge up quick if they have a good season. Let's go through the last final comments here. I'm going to try to go through a couple of these. Paul Christensen. I know I'm late to the show. Just got out of work. Do you think we trade White if you didn't cover this already? We did not. But I will say this, and I'll hopefully do a final 53-man roster projection over the weekend. I believe I trade Mike White if he still has value. Again, he's looked very poor during practice, preseason, etc. Maybe they still like him. I don't know. I know the Jets coaching staff does. Robert Sala went out of his way at the press conference today to say, "Hey, don't forget about Mike White." So they're probably going to keep him. But if it was up to me, I'd trade Mike White and I'd keep Chris Trevler. He shows more energy, and I'd be fine with that. Robert S., do you think Bam Knight would be running back number 4? I do. Again, Brees Hall, Michael Carter, Tevin Coleman, Zonovan Knight. I do believe. Brady Quinn. Do we just have all the celebrities in here? We have Brady Quinn, Michael Clemens. I feel so. I'm blushing. Is Zach single? Yeah. Well, actually, that's not true. He's in a relationship with football, and he's committed. So, yeah. Let's see. Brian Farrell. Shoot, this guy, there's only 3 on the board here, 86 people listening. Again, guys, make sure that if you're watching right now or even after the fact on YouTube, like the video and hit subscribe. Show your support for New York Jets content. Again, we have live streams, fun guests, some of the guests that have joined us. If you're new to the channel, we had Jericho Cotry earlier this year, Tyler Conklin earlier this year, a variety of insiders, Connor Hughes, Damian Woody, so former Jets, current television analysts, and everything else. So hopefully you guys can enjoy the channel. And Mute Vials. So what I missed, again, we just kind of ran through Denzel Mims trade conversations. I threw out a trade proposal. It's on heavy.com in the Jets section. Some trade ideas, whether we should trade him, shouldn't trade him, and then just a variety of Jets questions as we're getting to the preseason finale. But thanks for stopping by. Let's see. Vinny and the Jets. Let's go through a couple of quick ones here, and then we'll sign off. Vinny and the Jets. Any chance the Bengals do a tag and trade with the Jets to send us Jesse Bates? That'd be a loaded secondary, baby. It sure would. I do not believe that's going to happen because, again, Jesse Bates has passed the franchise tag deadline, which means he can't be extended, which means it would be a rental for the Jets, which would also mean that Jesse Bates would have all the cards in his hand, similar to the fact when Jamal Adams was traded to the Seahawks, and he knew they traded all the picks for him, so they were obviously going to sign him, and they could ask for whatever number he wanted, and he did, and reset the safety market. It has since been reset again, which I'm sure he's happy with. But as much as I would love it, I don't think so. I don't think that's realistic. But, Vinny, you know what? Keep the dream alive, baby. Let's see. Let's keep going. Final comments here. Any final comments? Yes, that is true for anyone who does not know Jets Giants NFL Network, 1 o'clock. You guys can also get NFL Plus. Again, they got a free week trial, Again, Monday Night Football is easy. If you have any ESPN person you can mooch off of. And then NFL Plus for the final game, you can just sign up with a made-up email, and you'll get it for a week and then just cancel right after. So feel free to do that for the game. All right, everybody, this was fun. Well over an hour here, a kind of a spontaneous episode because of the breaking news of Denzel Mims requesting a trade earlier. Again, there is a soft deadline coming up that is Tuesday. That's when all NFL teams, all 32 of them, are going to have to cut their rosters from 80 to 53. And again, there's even more movement after that because of the waiver wire claim process. I'm sure the Jets in a perfect world would like to move Mims by that point. But if they don't find the right deal, I believe they will keep him on the roster, and then they will continue to play this game. That's my take on the matter. Thanks, everybody, for so many people joining this conversation. Again, late on a Thursday night now, technically Friday morning. I love you guys. You guys are awesome. I'm hoping to do one more video coming up on the weekend, Saturday, hopefully, of a 53-man roster projection before we get to the Jets-Giants game. And I'll give you my roster construction thoughts, so we can all kind of talk about it. We'll do a live stream for that. So I'm hoping for that to all to come to fruition on Saturday. And we have some fun guests that'll be coming as well. Some live that were at the Jets Giants practices and some other beat reporters and things of that nature. Everybody, thanks for joining us. Thanks for tuning in. And again, as always, like the video, hit subscribe, become a member of the Boy Green Super Fan Club, where you can support the channel on a monthly basis, and always feel free to super chat to help and support the show. We love you. We appreciate you. Thank you so much. And we'll be checking in after the Jets-Giants game on Sunday. See you then, everybody. Peace.